My theme this month is from hope to faith to trust. And today the topic is trusting the wisdom that created you. First, in this series, we talked about hope. Hope, by definition, is wanting something to happen, looking for or wishing something to happen. May or may not be goal-driven, but it certainly is not a directed practice of clarifying and attracting right and perfect action by communing with the source of being. Hope is benign, which by definition means harmless, but insignificant in effect. And then the next week we talked about faith, that faith is all about believing that even though I don't yet see, taste, hold, or spend, I have faith that my clarity, my acceptance, and my belief at no one else's expense brings my desires and my intentions into full substance in my life. Another way to clarify faith is to know that anything is possible. The entirety of my spiritual practice is devoted to manifesting the positive. Let me say that again. The entirety of my spiritual practice is devoted to manifesting the positive. So to have faith is to believe without a doubt. The words of faith are powerful because it's a deep inner conviction. It's a state of certainty. It's a feeling of assurance, a knowing. And when we feel this deeply, we're liberating an enormous amount of energy. So today, let's talk about trust. How many of you have or are mentioned in a family trust? Anybody else in the room? Okay. You know, that's the document that's designed to prevent probate when the owner of property, either real or personal, transitions. And the trust prevents that property from going into long delays in being passed on to the heirs. How many of you have or are in line to inherit any trust funds? Anybody else? There you go. Okay. Any of you have any money or loans with a savings and trust bank? Okay. Now I have an even easier question. Everybody gets to participate in this one. Do any of you have any American currency in your possession? You know, that's money. M-O-N-E-Y. Have any money in your... dollars? Fives? Tens? 20s? Hundreds? Keep breathing. I'm not going to pass the basket yet. It's okay. But what I'd like you to do is to just take out your purse or your wallet, whatever you carry your money in, and remove the bills. Hold them in your hand. Doesn't matter the denominations. Okay, you got a bill in your hand, some nature of a bill. Turn it over to the back side. And right under where it says United States of America, on the count of 3, let's read what that says. 1, what? 1, 2, 3. In God we trust. Okay, and nobody else. Put the bill back in your wallet or your purse and secure it. When we do the prosperity series, we'll talk about how we treat money. So land jewels, keepsakes, homes, savings accounts, cash in our pockets, all of these and more are impacts on or are impacted by our trust. This is so big. I could do a whole month on it, but I promise you I will confine my comments to today and to the midweek gatherings this week. And for virtually all of us still breathing here on planet Earth, this is just an exercise in languaging. Because for those of us on the planet today, we haven't actually lived in a time where you could not trust any of these assets to remain viable. We trust when we buy things of value that that's true when we buy them, and true when and if we sell them. We trust that when we hand someone our credit card, that the supplier of the credit card still trusts us to make good on it. We trust that when we hand a $20 bill to the grocery clerk to buy our groceries, that the clerk will give us those groceries. We trust that a family trust will distribute the assets of an individual's possessions as defined by that individual whose possessions are being distributed. Why then do you suppose that when it comes to trusting in the wisdom that created us, so many people don't? Bear with me here for a moment while I paraphrase and edit something Shakespeare wrote. To trust and not to trust. There's the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. I'm not really sure why that quote came to me as I was writing this yesterday, but it did. So I shared it with you. And as I thought about it, I realized that it is true that when we lack trust in our own highest and best good, we find ourselves fighting those slings and arrows of our outrageous troubles. Metaphorically speaking, of course. So let's look at the meaning of trust as it applies in the development of our lives as we grow and develop that faith in the wisdom that created us. The definition of the word trust is this: a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Trust is a firm belief in the integrity of character, a person or a thing. The dictionary also lists the following synonyms for the word trust: confidence, faith, certainty, assurance, conviction, credence, reliance. Those are strong words, aren't they? Words that stir our emotions because they leave no doubt. Enter the villain. Doubt. Doubt. Because the gap between hope and faith / trust is doubt. There really is no gap between faith and trust. The gap is between hope and faith. So as I build my faith, practice by practice, demonstration by demonstration, spiritual mind treatment by spiritual mind treatment, success by success, I'm building my trust. We do that in business, don't we? We do that in friendship and in love relationships, don't we? We do that when we learn to swim, to play tennis, to dance, to sing. In fact, as you survey the moments of your life, right up to this present moment, you will find that you are exercising this practice of from hope to faith to trust all the time. You may want to review that now, and maybe now and then, to see which of those practices are having positive results and which are not. Because the process is the same either way. So now I want to turn for just a moment to the wisdom of the ages. And then, of course, I always start with Ernie. You know that when we're talking about wisdom of the ages. That's Ernie. He's a trusting resource for me. So in the very first chapter of the Science of Mind book, this is on page 31 for those of you who have a Science of Mind book. And for those of you who don't, you can't just buy page 31. So buy the whole text. It'll really enlighten you. So on page 31, he boldly declares, confidently declares, learning to trust makes us happy. Simple enough, yeah? Then he spends the next 566 pages describing how we can do that. But simplistically, the formula is right there on page 31. And this is what it says. Life reveals itself to whoever is receptive to it. We all seek some kind of relationship to universal mind, what Emerson calls the oversoul, eternal spirit, God. We're living in a spiritual universe, folks, which includes the material or physical universe. That is one of the most powerful lines in the whole 567 pages. So I repeat, we are living in a spiritual universe, which includes the material or physical universe. Key word in that last sentence is includes. So let me quote the passage again, one more time. I understand that 3 times is enough for us to remember. We wish they'd remember that on some of the infomercials on television. 3 times is enough. We are living in a spiritual universe which includes the material or physical universe. What that means to me is that there is more to it that I cannot, in this moment, see, even through my magnificent new cataract-free lenses. But when I am receptive to it, my other senses get to play. For example, I can hear music. I don't physically have to see the music sheet or the instrument playing it to know that it's music. I trust my sense of sound. I can touch a soft fabric or piece of material and trust that I can snuggle under that or wrap it around me to feel warm, to feel comfortable, to feel relaxed. I trust my sense of touch. See how this works? We're living in a physical universe. But behind it and over it and through it is the spiritual universe. This is elementary school, folks. I know that. Of course we do, because we've experienced it. One of the great messages of this life is that we get to experience the physical, material universe. There's nothing in the instruction book that says that's all there is. So if you wonder why I have these thoughts, I keep looking for something more, I know there is something greater within, around, or through me, or that's accessible to me. That's why you're here. This trip, we get to experience the feelings. And rather than trying to mold our source into only that, my God is a jealous God, my God is an arbitrary and capricious God, or a punishing God, that there is nothing before this or after this, it's only this. You see, that's trying to fit the universal into this moment in time. We're here to experience this. So we don't ignore our emotions or our feelings. We learn from them. We realize that they are the expression of the core of us. That's the physical expressing in this plane of existence. This is such good stuff when we don't let it scare us to death. And that's a metaphor, and that's an actual statement, that we don't let it scare us to death. So, those of you who sit in this room each Sunday, who show up for midweek discussions and take classes, who read and listen and discuss the great works of the masters, who, like yourself, seek a relationship with the source of these realizations, sense and trust, that there is more to this. You're right. There is more to it. It's a development of your faith, affirmation by affirmation, spiritual mind treatment by spiritual mind treatment, demonstration by demonstration, that permits and develops the trust in what is going on behind this whole process. What is going on behind that which I can see and feel and touch and taste and hear. It's like going to middle school, and then to high school, and then to college, and then, who knows, perhaps even some graduate work. How receptive would you like to be to the wisdom that created you? Well, let's go back to page 31. There's a power in the universe that honors our faith in it. The entire problem of limitation, evil, suffering, uncertainty is not God ordained, but is the result of ignorance. Now note he says ignorance, which means I just haven't exposed myself to learning yet. It means moving past the elementary or the physical to the study of the substance of that which is unseen. Remember last week we talked about that. Hope is the substance of that unseen. It's called faith. The evolution of our consciousness brings with it the acquisition of these new powers and possibilities. So here's another Ernieism. He says, we trust the invisible, for it's the sole cause of that which is visible. He can take words and he can just edify them down to the very nubbins, the core of meaning, to where it gets you right between the eyes, which is up here. We trust the invisible, for it is the sole cause of that which is visible. That'll get your cells firing. And that's on page 57. So you see, don't buy just page 31. There's more to be revealed. But all of these quotes from Ernest Holmes this morning are from the first 4 chapters of the textbook, which is the introduction to the whole concept of the science of mind. The thing itself, what it does, how it works, and how to use it. In about 60 pages, there's the core of it. And the other 500 pages give us an unfolding of ways to learn how to practice it. So now let me give you some thoughts from Wayne Dyer, one of my favorites, one of my favorite books. You'll see it when you believe it. You'll see it when you believe it. In this intelligent system, he says, that you're a part of, everything arrives from the field of intention, where the infinite, invisible life force flows through everyone and everything. This includes you, and everyone else as well, oh, by the way. Trust in this invisible force and the all-creating mind that intends everything into existence. Trust in this invisible force and the all-creating mind that intends everything into existence. And then here are some words from Stephen Covey, if you'd like to go away from the spiritual and into the business world. Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient. And then I'll take you one step further. Anybody recognize the name Gisele Bündchen? Well, let me kind of jog your memory. She's married to Tom Brady, who is an NFL football player. Let me take you one step further. She's from South America. And during her active business life was the highest paid model in the history of modeling. And though she is now pretty much retired from that, she is still the highest paid model that ever modeled. Now she has devoted her life and her work to nonprofit organizations in support of providing for those less fortunate. And here's her quote: "The more you trust yourself, the more empowered you become, the stronger you become, the happier you become." So, at the very beginning of the Science of Mind book, in case you don't yet have one of these to refer to, immediately following the section titled "Learning to Trust Makes Us Happy," which is the one I started with this morning, quotes from that, is a section on divine nature in every person. It's worth reading. I trust you will. And so it is.